This is Brian Evans. I'm with the Independent Baptist Online College, and I pastor the Oakwood Baptist Church in Flower Ranch, Georgia. I want to take a minute to try to encourage some of you students and others who may be learning from the Independent Baptist Online College in preparation for the ministry. There are some advantages to being in the ministry for a long time and growing older. You get to see God do things you've heard about for others in your own life. And as I set out to pursue the ministry many years ago, one of my big concerns was financial. I had been a somewhat successful businessman, made a very nice living for my family. And as a man of 35 years of age, I went to Bible college and then went to start a church in Ohio, actually to reorganize a church that had closed. And I worked full time for a while. Then I went full time by faith on a very modest salary. And there came a time when my wife and I had a little bit of a challenge in our finances. The first time we had a major challenge as a young pastor. My wife told me one day, she said, "Now, sweetheart, when we tithe this next time, we will not have any money for groceries for at least 2 weeks until we get paid the next time." And so we prayed and we just moved forward. Well, we had two young children, I mean, little bitty children. And we ate and tried to be careful with our food. And well, a day came about 10 days later when there was only a half a box of instant grits left in our cupboard. I mean, we had nothing at all to eat except that half a box of instant grits. And being Southerners, we love our grits, but they were about gone. Well, that morning, my wife told me, she said, "Honey, when we eat this little bit of grits for breakfast, that's all we're going to have. We don't have anything else until we get paid, and we've got to make it 3 or 4 more days at least." So after breakfast, I got my wife and my son and my little daughter on the kitchen floor, and we prayed. And we asked God to feed us. I did something I had never done before as a man. I had to ask God to feed my family. I was from an upper middle class home, had always made a nice living as a man myself, and I just didn't know what it was like to have to ask for food from God. But I did that day, and it was greatly humbling. Well, I left and I went to my little office, which we rented for the church, and I got there and the phone rang. It's a man named Tom Griffith. He called me and he said, "Preacher, I'm resigning my church and I want to join your church, and I'd like to offer you some books out of my library. I don't ever plan to be in the ministry again." So I I thought to myself, well, I don't need books. I need something to eat. But I told him, "Look, I'll come to your church and get whatever you're willing to give me." And so I went there, and of course, as all preachers do, he showed me around his building. He showed me the auditorium, all the Sunday school rooms, and the lobby, and his office, and the fellowship hall. Well, we went through the fellowship hall, and he said, "Here's our kitchen." And he pointed to a door, and he said, "This is our food pantry." And I thought, I sure would like to see the food pantry. I'm getting hungry, and I have nothing to eat at home. But we just went right on by it, went to his office, and we got some books up, and he had some wonderful books that he gave me. And so we started hauling out books to my little car. And as we carried the last books out, he stopped. We went through the fellowship hall and he looked at me and he said, "You don't need any food, do you?" And, I didn't want to seem too eager, but I did need some food and I needed food right then. I had nothing to eat, as I've already said. So I told him, I said, "Tom," I said, "Sure, always I could use a little something if you've got something you want to spare." So he opened the food pantry door, and boy, that thing was packed with everything you could possibly imagine. And he just didn't give me a couple items in a bag. He loaded my entire car down with groceries. And I thanked him, never having told him what really had gone on that morning. And I drove straight home and I showed my wife. I said, "Come out here. I want to see you something. You to see something." Went out to the car and she saw the books and she said, "Oh, that's nice, some books." I said, "Well, there's something else." And I opened the trunk, and the trunk was completely crammed with those groceries. And she asked me, "How did this happen?" I said, "Well," I told her the story, and she began to cry, and I began to rejoice, and we just had a sort of a happy spell right there in my driveway in Columbus, Ohio. And so, I went back inside. We put up those groceries and we just praised God. And I never missed a meal. We were out of food at 8 o'clock in the morning. By 10:30, we had a house full of groceries, literally given to us by the hand of God. So I would just encourage you, trust God in your finances, trust Him with your money. Don't be afraid to give your last dime if you have to tithe and give and support your church, support the cause. God's promises of provision are real. He will take care of you when you need Him most. And what a great example it will be to those that follow you, pastor or youth director or missionary. We have a great God. He's able to do all things and to make grace abound towards us. His provision is never ending. He never runs out of food for us. So just know He will take care of you no matter what you need or what you might encounter in life in the area of finances. God will care for you. He has certainly done it for me for these last many years. God bless you. I hope your studies are going well. If you're in our college, I hope this has encouraged you. And we'll talk to you again soon, Lord willing.